Zimbabwe cash crisis worse. About Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing right there called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RT News updates. And as we draw towards the end of 2017, what better way to end this year than to talk about one of the most important subjects in our monetary and financial history, which is the recent development of the cryptocurrency / blockchain technology, and more importantly, how a government in the form of Venezuela, President Maduro, believes that they can back their oil with cryptocurrencies or link the two together in a way of going around or dethroning the dollar, as one of the articles will mention that I'm going to cover today. And so it's quite telling of where this upcoming year is going to be. It's going to be a lot in the crypto technology space as more alternative means of going around fiat currencies are unveiled. And so more people will have options to begin really rethinking and, for the most part, being able to deal outside of fiat currencies, and more importantly, dealing outside the Federal Reserve note. And so I have two articles here I want to share with you, all dealing with recent developments on the impending launch of the Venezuelan coin, or the Petro coin, or Maduro coin, or whatever it will be officially called. But it is the first attempt by a government, for the most part, to in deliberate actions to bypass the dollar because of all the sanctions and just there. So as always, before I dive into those, if you're new to RTD, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button for more RT News updates, interviews, as well as live talks. And if you're new to rethinking the dollar altogether, I want to encourage you to visit the RTD University site, where I've put together all my prior interviews dealing with the commentary, economists, you name it, all dealing with this current subject matter of how nations are looking to dethrone or move around the use of the dollar as their way of doing business. And it has a lot to do with this subject right here, all do with oil. So let's dive into today's articles. So the very first article here is one from earlier this month, but it kind of plays into the announcement of Venezuelan cryptocurrency that is underway, and it has a lot to do with the idea that because of Bitcoin growing so rapidly over the last year and really becoming a mainstream topic, this title here was "Bitcoin Mania Could Ramp Up Global Efforts to Dethrone the Dollar," an analyst says, and then he goes through why he believed that would be so. And then the very next one here has to do with what was announced today, and it's Venezuela oil-backed cryptocurrency to launch in days, the government says. So as always, I'll include these two articles below for you to dive into further for yourself, but I just want to skim the surface a little bit and give you what's on top. And right here it says the world's most popular cryptocurrency has skyrocketed in recent months, soaring above 19,000 this past Thursday, earlier this month on Coinbase. It says the advent of cryptocurrencies represent a fresh catalyst for commodity producing countries wishing to abandon the dollar as means of payments for oil. Stephen Brennock, oil analyst of PVM Oil Associates, said in a research earlier this month. It says on Sunday, referring to earlier this month, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced the launch of an oil-backed cryptocurrency called the Petro. So just to go down, give you an idea what's going on here. And it says here that a fresh catalyst to abandon the dollar. So this whole Petro cryptocurrency, which is being revealed in the upcoming year, all has to do with abandoning the dollar. And Venezuela is not the only country. And if you watch prior interviews, or as well as RTD News updates, we talked a lot about how China and Russia have all the infrastructure needed to begin doing business amongst themselves without even touching a single Federal Reserve note or dollar. And so here it says oil contracts based on dollar currency currently dominate global markets. Through countries such as China, Russia, and Venezuela have long viewed a move away from the greenbacks as a strategic priority. It says that's because this would allow them to reduce their dependency on the dollar, while at the same time limiting their exposure to the U.S. currency risk and American sanctions. And so a lot of the idea of what has sped up the idea of countries wanting to abandon the dollar is the idea that America has passed sanctions on every one of these countries in one form or another, which has really altered and hindered their business in one regard. On the other side of the coin, it's kind of sped up the need for systems and infrastructure that allows them to go around the dollar or to bypass the dollar, which ultimately leads to the total abandonment and just the destruction of the Federal Reserve note on the international stage as a current reserve currency. It says the advent of cryptocurrencies therefore represents a fresh catalyst for commodity producing countries wishing to abandon the dollar as a means for payment of oil. So basically saying that now that the cryptocurrency technology is kind of in full swing, a lot of governments have implemented it and working with it to come up with their own ways of exchanging value amongst each other without having to actually go through the SWIFT system located here in the United States of America when it comes to transacting in dollars. It says on Sunday, Venezuela President Maduro announced the launch of an oil-backed cryptocurrency called the Petro. It says the OPEC member has sought to shun dollar payments for its oil amid worsening relations with Caracas and Washington. And it says China likely to be sticking point. And so it goes on a little bit, talk about how China and Russia, already got something planned. And then the very next article here, which is the main story of the day, is Venezuela oil-backed cryptocurrency to launch in days. And so here it has some of the highlights. It says Venezuela's cryptocurrency will launch within days and be backed by 5.3 billion barrels of oil worth $267 billion. It says the launch is a bid to offset a deep financial crisis, the socialist government said occurred today. It says President Nicolas Maduro surprised many earlier this month when he announced the Petro cryptocurrency. And so here it gives some more details, but the idea that they're going to have initially upfront 5.3 billion barrels of oil that they're going to attach to cryptocurrency, which I believe is going to be centrally controlled by the government there. So I'm not sure if the coins or tokens or whatever they're going to actually be are going to be capped off at a certain amount to where they'll try to raise funds. But the goal is to basically have countries that want to do business with them to purchase the Petro cryptocurrency or the Petro coin, and then be able to exchange those back and forth over the blockchain or whatever form of chain method they use to exchange value. So this is going to be an eye-opening and looked at subject matter here, because if this has any chance of working, more countries will come on board. And so this poses a major threat to the dollar dominance over the globe. So it's going to be something that the U.S. will not take very lightly if this gets off the ground. And so I'll give you a little bit more here. It says it contains 5.342 billion certified barrels of oil. We're talking about backing of 267 billion, said Rodriguez, adding that the differentiated with the Petro from the other cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. So what's different between this Petro and Bitcoin is that this is actually backed by something that the world needs in the form of oil. It says the government appears to be hoping the Petro will offset a collapse in the Venezuela currency, which has been 97% in 1 year against the US dollar on the black market, and isolate the country from the US dollar and Washington. So that's kind of what's happening. Last thing here, it says it will be materially impossible for dictatorial financial centers of the world to intervene against this initiative, said Rodriguez, and citing what happened in Portugal, as I mentioned, how over Christmas, because of sanctions and because of U.S. intervention, Portugal wasn't able to send meat to Venezuela because of the whole SWIFT system. So that's kind of what's happening in regards to this whole Venezuela oil-backed cryptocurrency. So the question will be, will this succeed? And even if it gets off the ground and appears to work, what will be the response of the United States of America, and how will other countries view this if it does work? Because it'll be easier for countries to begin working on their own infrastructures, using a blockchain and coming up with their own coins to just use for international sake, or to just attach it to what China and Russia is already doing in regards to the oil futures that's going to be priced in the yuan starting this upcoming year as well. So between Venezuela in this Petro cryptocurrency, we have the yuan-backed oil futures or whatnot. We have Russia with their whole system that's ready to go as far as flicking on the switch, as I mentioned, with doing trade directly with other nations in that area. And then we have all the development that's taking place down in Africa with China, for the most part, helping build infrastructure. So 2018 is shaping up to be an interesting year, because we will hear more of these stories on how the words such as bypassing the dollar, dethroning the dollar, the demise of the dollar, death of the dollar, all those terms will be used even more this upcoming year and in the days ahead, because the world is basically looking for alternatives, and they've already begun rethinking the dollar. And as I've mentioned in prior interviews as well as news updates, that the restructuring and the face of what we've known as a dollar will change drastically. And so that leaves you and I as holders and dependent upon our national currency, which is a dollar, puts us in a tight situation to where we ourselves need to begin joining the mindset of those outside this country and beginning to diversify away from the Federal Reserve note, because it might be and soon will be one of our biggest concerns as far as what it will be able to purchase within our own country. So just want to share something today as the last news update for the year. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts below. And if you find this informative, please share this with your friends and family so they can become more aware on the importance of this monetary news, which is going to be eye-opening in the new coming year. So other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.